So in this workflow, I'm going to build how to find, for example, press emails or media and PR emails. This is a little harder to find with regular search filters, so there needs to be a different approach. And in this case, I will find the domains for all of the companies, then point the web scraper to the domain and have it look for PR and media emails. And then I use another scraper to do the same thing for those where it didn't find any, and that is then pushed into a Google Sheet. Something relatively simple, I would say. So let's get right into it. Some of the data is in here. This is the clean view, I would say, that I also used for the full run. So of course the build view is much more extensive, and I'm going to jump back and forth, but this is kind of how the end result looks like. Some input data, actually I could have just left it at the name. Then finding the domain another way, running Claygent, meaning an AI web scraper or an LLM directed web scraper, as I would call it, running the same prompt, just conditionally with a different model. That's a nice little hack to maximize results. And then these results are merged into one column, and this column is pushed into a Google Sheet, which looks very, very simple. Yeah, I could have done like a little bit of a job to clean up the emails nicer, but I think we're good there. So how did I build it in detail? So this is a nice little thing from a Clay integration, which is basically a formula that looks at an email address, filters out all the free mails, and just outputs the domain. You can do this with a formula too. I'm actually quickly going to show how that would go. So again, and the point is, I have some email addresses, general email addresses, which do contain the domain. This is a really, really good high quality data point that cannot go to waste. So the formula for this would like that: get this field, get the field email, which we see here, and extract the part that comes after. Probably you can cut one or two words from this prompt, but it works. And then output is correct, say formula, and in this case I would for free have extracted all those domains. Again, the other thing from Clay does the same. It's a little bit better, saves a little bit of time, so use that. It's called identify email type and extract company domain from email. Super good. The next thing I'm doing is run Claygent, and I'm a big fan of the Haiku model because it's so dirt cheap and can do such good things. And the Claygent with Haiku is semi-free, so I would say that's maybe less than the tenth of a penny for one of these rows. This is the prompt. Very simple actually. Find the website for a company, institution, or person with this name. This points to the name. Only output the result. Do not explain or comment your work. Give me the bare domain, for example, apple.com. The reason I didn't do a LinkedIn enrichment, because I have a lot of LinkedIn data, is two things. First, I don't have LinkedIn URLs for all companies, so I would have to find those anyways in a certain way. And again, running this agent with a Claude model, and not with Clay's credits, but with my own API key, is basically free. Even for 600, that is still like a few dollars, so totally worth it. So this leads to some results. What I want to show here, because here you only see best one. Actually, let me show this first. So this is a prompt, and the next thing that I used here is this trick of using. Oh, I was lying. I actually didn't use the same prompt, but it still works. So this is a much more... Oh, I confused something. So this is the prompt to find the email domain to find the press emails. So giving it context, feeding in the normalized URL from the domain that I found. That's, by the way, in Clay integrated enrichment. You can run normalized domain and it will do a www.apple.com, whatever, into apple.com, which makes things really neat. I instruct Claygent to not do Google search because it loves Google searches, and that doesn't, in this case, is not what I want. Look for the terms that indicate who deals with media inquiries. That is sometimes a person on the about page or something else, and this is why I wrote it this way. Again, lots of experimentation to end up at this prompt. And then, very important, output in a very specific format. Contact name, contact email. Do not comment or explain your work, otherwise it starts with, oh, based on my research I found this, selected the model here. You can pull in a model cost, but I don't think that works with Haiku. Whatever, it doesn't matter, it's very cheap. The important thing here is, oh, this is the first one, so no conditional formula, and then the same prompt with a conditional formula. Run only if result of the first Claygent is NA, and only then it will run. And important, choose a different model. One way or the other, it only makes sense when it's a different model. And then I get basically two different results, two shots at the goal. And here are the results. This is a merged column, so let me show what that means. We need another formula here because the output is still in this non-usable form, I would say. And what happens then, let me get that on here. Where is that? Here. Okay, so I'm just using one example. This is the mapped out email address, and this is the same technique that I used before, that I showed before. Actually, I should have just shown this. Get result, only look between brackets. This is why I always have the LLM output be in this bracket format, which is then email colon and then the bracket is closed, and this is then the prompt get result. Look only between the brackets. This directs it to a very specific part, and then extract what comes after contact email, but before the closed bracket, and that beautifully outputs the emails that have been found. The same I did for the second result. I had two Claygents running, which combine lead to these results, and this is a merged column, which basically just says, and definitely use that. It's this part here, insert to the right, merge columns, which basically looks in a certain priority where you can define in which order it should take it. Look for the email here, look for the email there, put it into this column, and then here is a Clay integration that writes it to a Google Sheet. This client, I won't deliver it directly to the CRM, but to a Google Sheet, because they can use it for their outbound, and this is how that looks like. I selected my Google Sheet authentication, Google Sheet URL, then which sheet ID. This is basically on which sheet that should go, and then this is basically just a little bit clicking and putting in the right Clay column into the right Google Sheet column. Also, I want the columns to update. I seem not to have activated that, meaning when I change something in the table, then it will push that change to the correct field in the Google Sheet, and in this case I won't run it because it has already run, and that's it. If you say, oh wow, that's pretty little details here, pretty little press contacts, most of those companies don't have a press contact, which means we will then contact people at those companies, but that's a completely different flow, and in this case we just wanted to see how far we can get finding press contact. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes, and this may or may not be correct that this is the right address, but in many cases it has found exactly what you would expect it to find, which saves already a ton of time. Maybe one more additional detail to go into. I work with different views a lot, so I can separate out work for myself too, and the build view I think you can see a little bit all the experiments that have been running here, like a lot of stuff that I tried out, basically different prompts. So I start with a prompt, then I run it on a few rows, then I adapt and I change the prompt, I run it again, and something is really cool. Do not underestimate this field, this property Clay offers you, which is the reasoning. So in this case, result is NA. This is how I directed it, and here I can see why. Based on the information available on the Sastro website and the Google search results, I was unable to find any press or media contact, whatever. That may not be the very best example. This is also not the prompt I used. So there is, I think, a prompt that did find the press contact. So yeah, this is how it works. I look at the reasoning, I go to the website myself, I agree with the reasoning or not. In this case, I didn't agree, so I adapted the prompt, and then you refine and you refine and you refine, and you get to good results. And I help myself with, like, either I say final prompt or best one, and I knew I wanted to run the same prompt again, so then I have a best two. This is how I help myself organize this, and just to show there's a lot of experiments going until you end up with the best run. It's always nice to run a GPT-4 prompt because it is the best model. It finds better data, but it is super expensive, and I would in any case only recommend to run it as a last resort, so to say. And yeah, that's it. That's the detail I wanted to go into. Hit me up with questions.